All paths lead home, which means there's no choice that you can make that won't eventually bring you back home. So enjoy the journey. Hi everyone, Therese here. Welcome to this week's Karma Cards. So I want to start by pointing out that we've got an interesting combination of energy heading up at the end of this week. First, we've got Uranus joining the retrograde window. So we've got 5 planets right now in retrograde. Uranus is about to join them. Uranus is the plot twist planet. So this says to me there's something big, a big shift inwards in each of us that's going to be happening. So this happens on the 20th, which is 2 days after I've recorded this. Then we have the second full moon in Aquarius coming up on Sunday. And this is the other bookend to our last full moon, which was also in Aquarius. And in between these two bookends, in the middle was the Lionsgate new moon. So there's this beautiful corridor of energy that we're in right now. Uranus rules Aquarius. So these two events happening together really highlight this energy of Aquarius. And I've talked to you about it so many times now, but just going over it again, visionary, future, humanitarian, forward thinking, freedom loving. All of these different aspects of Aquarius are highlighted in that energy. And Uranus is the plot twist planet. It is the planet of change and sudden surprise. So something about going inward, maybe even taking a risk in our own lives, ending up being of great reward to us. And before I forget, the Spirit Circle is this Sunday. If you want to join us and learn more about the Uranus retrograde and the energy and intention of a double full moon in Aquarius, you can join us at this link here. And we'd love to have you. So I started this message by talking about the message my team brought to me, which is all paths lead to the way home. And it's so important to remember this because we're in a time window where the outside world is really like there's a whole, the control matrix, I talk about that a lot. It's really pushing this idea of right path, right choices. And then this gets rippled down and reflected in all different areas. And honestly, it's one of the main features of the control structure. They've been doing that forever about all sorts of different things. And what happens is it gets inside each of us in our ego, right? And so once we think we've identified what's right, then of course we start trying to control the environment through our ego and trying to get the environment to do what is right. And the truth, the reality is there are endless pathways to the way home. What if you saw life instead from your soul's perspective, knowing that that the journey, the purpose that you're on is like a big breath in and out, right? So as you breathe in and expand, that's you making your life choices. But as you breathe out, it contracts and comes back into the center point, meaning there's no direction, no choice that you could make that would take you away from your true center, from the truth of ultimate oneness with source energy. That no matter how far you may perceive to go away from source, you're always coming back to it. And that's why there's really no choice anyone can make that would ultimately take them away from home. Even the darkest of the dark, which, from a perspective looks like ultimate separation from love. Even on that path eventually winds back around and comes back to source. So as you can see, there are paths where it's almost like concentric rings, right? But all these rings are still connected to the center. So some paths keep you close to that main truth and that energy. Some paths take you very far away from it. But eventually, even those paths wrap around and come back to source. My team asked me to bring this up because more than ever, we are going to need to trust our own choices in everything. It's not just the choices that are being played out in the world right now, but in everything. Trust yourself. No one's path looks like another's, right? And the visual they always give me is that we are all walking together side by side on different paths. So some of us walk in a closer knit path where it looks like our paths are the same, but then you'll meet people in that soul group who then go, one goes left, one goes right, another goes straight, another does a corkscrew, right? But they all eventually kind of come back to some of the same points. And I know that from an ego place, that can be a little scary because we've been trained to base our choices on external prompts. So if someone else is doing it, then it's right, right? So it gets scary when we're asked to walk a path at any part of it alone. And yet I do believe that it is part of the higher plan to show you that your path has a very unique bend or curve or special hidden area that only you can go through. That's what makes it part of your unique soul signature. And so we've got to learn to trust those parts. That you're going to be walking along with people and meeting them most of the way until at some point in which it appears you're alone. That doesn't mean you fell off the path. It means you're on your own unique trajectory. You're still doing it right. There is nothing that you can do that would take you away from ultimately your highest good. And when we remember that, we allow ourselves to relax and enjoy the journey more. Even in the toughest of times, we can still play. We can still be light, and we can still enjoy the journey. Doesn't mean we're not going to feel some rough stuff. It just means that we recognize that all of that still brings me ultimately to where I'm trying to go. So I hope that message from the team uplifts you, inspires you, and anchors you into trusting your own frequency more. No one can tell you what is right for you. You are a sovereign being. Therefore, only you decide what is right for you. And you're magical. All right, beautiful soul. Let's do some karma cards. So for those who've never done karma cards before, let me quickly go over it. We have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, houses of astrology. I've already asked my team, what is the message for this week? And they've given me 2 sets of answers. Ones in red are action-related answers, and those in blue are outcome. And this is a reading for the week ahead. To play, all you do is decide, what do I need right now? Do I need action-related answers, or do I want to know the outcomes within the next week? And while you're deciding that, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for August 18th through August 25th. Now let's go over the flavor of this reading. We've got the moon. The moon. Interesting planet, interesting card. Highly emotional, highly intuitive, sometimes easily deceived. Then we have Libra as our sign. The scales, relationships, balance, understanding. This is one of the first signs in the wheel of the zodiac that starts to address the outside world. Yeah, this is the one that starts the external world expression, where we start interacting with others. In the 3rd house of communication and self-expression, which is ruled by Mercury, if you are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to defend relationships by making the right connections. Defend relationships by making the right connections. And I feel like by right connections, they're thinking about what you want, not what you're resisting or what you don't like, but by what you want from your relationships. Do you want connection? Do you want intimacy? Do you want an ally? Do you want support, right? What do you want? And then you, to defend that means you also show up as that. So that's a great way to make sure, if we're trying to get our needs met, I think that the most direct path to doing that is by recognizing what is my need and then showing up as delivering that, right? So when we show up and do it, not only are we being of service to someone else, but we're also being the example, right? And what we give is what we get. Mental action: accept the beauty of the idea in question. Well, this is interesting. Right, so we're having a lot of deep thoughts lately. This is a deeply powerful time. We're in this amazing window of energy. And whatever, accept the beauty of the idea in question. So I think many times we question that which creates catalyst for us, and catalyst ultimately creates a growth, but it can also be experienced as pain or suffering. So accept the beauty of the suffering in question, or the idea of suffering in question. When we start to see more than pain and suffering in the catalyst, we do see its beauty and its power and its divinity. Physical action at this time: let your feelings tell you how to do it with your partners and get your ideas going. So again, we're being prompted more and more. The deeper we go into it, you've got to learn to trust your intuition and trust yourself. This is why, again, when your path leads you somewhere and you feel like you're alone on it, rather than doubting the path, turn to trust in yourself. So when you learn how to trust yourself, then you're listening to how you feel, how you're responding to it. Asking yourself deeper questions of, what does this feeling mean to me? And this is going to help you in working with other people. So the really interesting thing about this reading is, again, it has this weird Mercury retrograde feeling to it, where I'm getting like, the more that you can be conscientious in thought, word, and deed, the clearer your intent becomes to others, and therefore you start to work with others, meaning like there's more cohesion in relationships, there's more working together happening, because there's an ownership of, how am I perceiving this, how do I speak of this, and what am I doing? And when we're operating in that way, where we're listening, watching ourselves, and trying to observe us as another might, then we might make some corrections. We might become clear. We might be more intentional in our words, where we're not just expressing our frustration, but we're adding to that our appreciation. So you can appreciate and love and honor someone and still need to set a boundary or create clarity or speak your truth, right? So instead of just hammering someone with a negative, you can also recognize, I love you, and I'm also hurt, and I want to work through this with you, right? So new levels of communication with others. For those who are looking for outcome, the outcome for the moon in Libra in the third house of communication, spiritual outcome, the nurturing of cooperation to perfect your ideas. And I feel like this statement literally piggybacks off of what I just said about the self-awareness of thought, word, and deed, and the clearer communication that we're leaving all or nothing black and white thinking. And the higher we go in our own consciousness, the more we can be multidimensional in our perception and our communication with others. We don't forget how much we love and appreciate someone just because we're having a moment of conflict. And we were coming from an old paradigm where it's all or nothing. You're all wonderful or you're not, right? You're a good guy, you're a bad guy. That's dissolving, and that's the illusion that's breaking apart. The higher realms of consciousness understand that multiple things can exist at the same time, and even contradictions and paradoxes coexist and are of a high spiritual nature. And so, again, this is that the nurturing is the self-nurturing, becoming more emotionally intelligent and having better tools at expressing that higher level of emotional intelligence. Mental outcome, feelings caused by decisions about short-term thinking and trips. So again, this isn't, these readings that I'm doing are only a week out. This energy only is read for a week out. So the feelings that come up during this time period are in a result to this short window of time, this week of time. Just like you can't choose the wrong path, you can't make a mistake, all paths lead back to home or ultimate truth. No decision is permanent either. Sometimes decision can feel really permanent, but what is one truth about life? Life is change. So if you've made a decision about something, let's say maybe you did make a decision from a sort of a black and white all or nothing space, and you've just now recognized it. Oh yeah, I was kind of doing, it's all good or it's all bad. And I made the decision from that place. With that awareness comes a new opportunity to choose again. And that's the energy I get from this line in the card. Physical action at this time, reactions resulting from the fairness shown by who and what is around you. Reactions. The moon is emotional and emotions are reactive. But I don't get a negative, sometimes the word reaction, it has a negative implication, at least in my brain. It goes, oh God, I don't want to react, I want to respond. But the feeling I get from this is like this overwhelmed with love, right? The fairness, when you are with an individual or experience an individual having that conscious awareness of what am I thinking, what am I speaking, how am I acting, right? And they are directing that loving energy of self-awareness and multi-dimensional consciousness towards you. I feel like the reaction is like an overwhelm, like I'm overcome with emotion of love. Like it's a lot to take in. And especially as we're ramping up to a full moon, we're naturally going to be more emotional as the moon becomes fuller, right? That energy of heightened emotions. But again, I really don't get a negative from this. I really get it's just big feelings. So I hope this reading was inspiring for you. I hope it gave you something positive to focus on, and also the sense of self-security in trusting your path, because it is the absolute right path for you. You're not making a mistake. Even when things feel like they're not falling into place, they're still falling. Okay? When it doesn't feel like things fell into place yet, that's because they're still settling. They haven't settled yet. So keep going. You've got this, and you're amazing. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.